Hello there, everybody. I hope you've all had a wonderful work week. So does your CEO understand marketing? Do they? Well, according to your CMO, they probably think they understand it, but the answer is probably, nah, they don't. But do they? Who's right in this situation? Well, a new McKinsey research study found that despite the strong agreement between the modern CEO, modern CMO, and the belief that, strong marketing results equals business growth, kind of a no duh, well, the understanding itself of marketing, it's as divided as it's ever been. So how do we bring that together? How do we bring the leadership together so that we can focus on the same goals? Put simply, if we're the marketing kids in this relationship, how do we bring our parents together to communicate as one big happy family? The answer? It might surprise you. Want to know more? Well, this is 5 minutes of what you need to lead in marketing. Let's roll. Hello everybody, Robert Rose here with the Content and Marketing Strategy News. It is what's new, but more importantly, it's what's important in our world of marketing. And for the best and best practices, you can head on over to contentmarketinginstitute.com. So last week, McKinsey, the firm that has been getting all kinds of good press lately, the global consultancy, it released the results of a new survey with more than 100 people, a total of 100 people in C-level growth roles. That includes the CMO, the Chief Growth Officer, Chief Customer Officers, and a whole 21, count them, 21 CEOs from B2B and B2C companies of all sizes and across all industries. Now, if that sounds like it's a little bit too small a sample to make any kind of quantitative decision about, you'd be right. But still, the insights here were interesting and do validate a lot of what we've seen personally in the marketing practices of the organizations we work with. One of the non-surprising results was that the relationship between CEOs and CMOs, well, they jointly defined that marketing's role is important in shaping the growth of the business, and that was highly correlated to all of the business growth strategy. Said in a much less McKenzian way, well, if CEOs and CMOs agree on what marketing is supposed to do, they typically outperform their peers that don't agree. Much more interesting, however, were some of the challenges that bubbled up in their research and that we've seen personally with the clients that we work with. As modern marketing has really evolved from focusing on the 4 Ps of product, price, place, and promotion, really to just a broader and wider scope of just the 1 P, namely promotion, well, businesses have typically done 2 things. The first is they've created many more marketing adjacent roles like the Chief Customer Officer, the Chief Revenue Officer, the Chief Growth Officer, the Chief Experience Officer, and they handle more of the sales or customer experiences oriented types of functions. And they're also relegating other parts of the Ps, such as pricing and products, to finance departments or product or other functions. Now, the second thing that these companies have done is to build these more promotionally marketing and content teams to be focused, or siloed actually might be the better word, around internal products or functions like customer journey stage, or by product, or by awareness teams, demand generation teams, sales enablement teams, customer experience teams, all very siloed themselves from each other, and then inline reporting, sometimes dotted line reporting, up through some of those other functional C-suite leaders, like the Chief Experience Officer or the Chief Customer Officer. So what's the result? It's a mishmash. It's blurring. It's really trying to figure out what marketing's role as an overall integrated strategy even looks like with all those lines and dotted lines and confusion on what the CMO should really be focused on. As the McKinsey research found and illustrated in a perfect example of this confusion, CEOs and CMOs are not often on the same page about what the primary role of marketing should be in their companies. While they would largely agree that brand steward is a focus, beyond that, there was little agreement on things such as customer experience or Salesforce enabler or customer relationships and loyalty. So McKinsey poses that one of the root disconnections here is how few Fortune 250 CEOs, how much experience or little experience they have in marketing themselves. So they're just not familiar with the increasingly technical, data-driven discipline that marketing has become. My take? No duh. But that's not new. Since the beginning of marketing, the cliche has been everybody has 2 jobs, theirs and marketing, and CEOs are just like about everyone, which is they're likely to have an opinion on marketing, whether they know anything or not about it. But McKinsey also suggested that CMOs need to do a better job of clarifying the role of marketing in the business and communicate, educate, and inform in a much more effective way. They suggested that the CMO and the CEO have to come together to jointly understand what marketing's remit is and how everybody understands what the measurement frameworks and the marketing innovations are going to be needed to get us to those goals and objectives. I think that's fine, if not kind of stale advice. I mean, yeah, it would be great if CMOs and CEOs would get aligned around the company objectives and de-silo the operations that really created this integrated and wonderful opportunity. But my take that this needs to come from a few levels lower than this. In other words, and put simply, my experience is that the modern CMO and the modern CEO, especially at larger organizations, are less involved than ever in the details of marketing. And it's not uncommon to even at mid-sized organizations that CMOs are leaning hard on their line of business and functional leaders to create all the plans that they plan to execute. And then what they want is that summarization into a one-page, 5 or 10-minute one-on-one with the CMO to basically nod their head and at least be aware of what's going on at the lower levels. I don't think this is necessarily about the CMO and CEO just coming together to align on the big objectives and goals. Yeah, that's needed, definitely needed. But once that's done, it's up to us, the mid-level directors and team leads, to begin to work together toward and stop competing with each other. Stop competing with each other for the same audiences and understanding of how those big objectives are going to work for our little piece of the world, and work together to form joint goals, joint objectives, where, for example, in one instance, our team may just be a lever and not the fulcrum of that particular effort, and vice versa. And well, revisit the whole idea of what we used to call integrated marketing planning. Integrating marketing and planning is something that's a bit of a lost art for most businesses, and it's due, I think, in 24 for a big comeback. Now, the McKinsey article finishes with a quote from a CMO at a national retail pharmacy, and that says, CEOs should ask themselves about outcomes, not activities. What do I want out of marketing? Then they should ask their CMOs what are the best levers to achieve that outcome. I wholeheartedly agree, but before the CMO answers that question, I would add that I think the CMO should then ask themselves the same questions and ask their teams what levers would propel them to any range of outcomes if they would just work together. That way, the CEO isn't asking for more than can be done, and the CMO isn't promising less than what the marketing organization is capable of doing. And well, that's it. That's 5 minutes of what you need to lead in marketing. And remember, it's your story to tell. Make sure the CEO agrees with it, and then tell it well. I'll see you next week.